Have you ever stopped to think that while everyone dreams of being a doctor, lawyer, or engineer, there is a silent army of professionals earning more than $100,000 a year, doing jobs that no one sees? Talking about careers. Your parents probably never mention professions that don't appear in Hollywood movies, but are filling up bank accounts as you watch this video. The truth is shocking. Millions of Americans wake up every day to work in professions that are completely invisible to society, but extremely profitable. These people do not wear expensive suits, do not appear in business magazines, and are probably not recognized when they walk the streets. But when you look at the numbers deposited into your accounts every month, you realize that they have discovered something that most people will never find out, and the most fascinating. Many of these professions do not require four-year college. They don't need a master's degree. They don't demand powerful family connections. What they require is specific knowledge, technical skills, and the courage to take a different path than everyone else is taking. Get ready, because I'm going to reveal professions you've probably never heard of, but which are paying salaries that would make many office executives jealous. Let's start from the lowest salary to the highest, and I guarantee the final numbers will blow your mind. Elevator technicians. We start with something that seems simple, but is not. These professionals earn between $88,000 and $95,000 a year. In the United States. Think about it. How many times do you use an elevator without even thinking about who keeps it running? These technicians work with complex hydraulic systems, advanced electronics, and need to understand applied physics. They climb up and down high-rise buildings, enter elevator shafts that most people don't even know exist, and ensure that millions of Americans get to their offices safely every day. The training, usually a 4-year apprenticeship program. No classroom full of boring lectures. It is practical, real learning, working with experienced professionals. And when they're done, these technicians have such a specialized skill set that companies fight over them. Operators of nuclear power plants. Now, we are talking about $95,000 to $102,000 annually. Here is a profession that literally keeps the lights on in millions of American homes, yet remains completely off the public radar. These operators control the reactors that generate electricity for entire cities. They work in maximum security facilities, monitor systems that cannot fail, and carry an enormous responsibility on their shoulders. The irony: most people are more afraid of nuclear energy than admiration for the professionals who control it with absolute safety. These operators undergo rigorous training, intensive federal certifications, and constant evaluations, but at the end of the month, when they look at their paychecks, they know the effort was worth every second. Funeral system managers, between $98,000 and $108,000 a year. Yes, you read that right. People who run funeral homes are making six figures while providing one of society's most needed and least glamorous services. They deal with families in their most vulnerable moments, coordinate complex logistics, manage teams, take care of health and legal regulations, and keep businesses running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. No one wakes up thinking, I want to be a funeral home manager when I grow up. But these professionals have discovered a fundamental truth. There is fortune where there is constant need, and few willing to attend. Death is inevitable, and someone needs to take care of everything that comes after. Why not get paid well for it? PAUSEFORASECOND. If you are starting to realize that there are fortunes hidden in places you never imagined, then you need to subscribe to the Salary Uncovered channel. Hit that red button now, because we're going to reveal dozens of lucrative careers that no one is talking about. And share this video with that person who is killing themselves at an expensive college, thinking it's the only way to financial success. Continuing our journey through the invisible and profitable professions. Directors of Transportation Services, $102,000 to $115,000 annually. These are the people you never see, but who ensure that school buses carry children safely, that public transportation systems run flawlessly, that corporate fleets operate at peak efficiency. They manage budgets of millions of dollars, lead teams of hundreds of drivers and mechanics, negotiate contracts with suppliers and governments. While you're stuck in traffic, complaining about public transportation, there's someone making over $100,000 a year trying to solve just that problem, and the demand only grows. Cities are expanding, populations are increasing, and the need for professionals who understand transportation logistics has never been greater. Air traffic controllers, $110,000 to $138,000 a year. Here we enter serious territory. These professionals literally have lives in their hands every day. They make sure planes don't crash, coordinate landings and takeoffs at busy airports, work under constant pressure, and have to make split-second decisions. Most people fly without ever thinking about the voices in the control towers that are orchestrating a complex aerial ballet over their heads. These controllers undergo some of the most rigorous training of any profession in the United States. The FAA Academy accepts fewer applicants on a percentage basis than Harvard, and when they graduate, they earn salaries that many graduates of elite universities will never reach. The stress is real, the responsibility is immense, but the payment reflects exactly that. And for those with the right mindset, it's a career that offers not just money, but the knowledge that you're doing something genuinely important. Radiation engineers, $115,000 to $125,000 annually. While everyone knows civil and electrical engineers, almost no one knows that there are engineers who specialize in radiation. These professionals work in hospitals, designing cancer treatments in power plants, ensuring nuclear safety in research facilities, advancing medical science. They use high-level physics, complex mathematics, and cutting-edge technology to save lives in ways most people will never see or understand. When a cancer patient receives radiation therapy and survives, there is a radiation engineer behind that treatment who calculated precise doses, designed equipment, and made sure everything worked perfectly. Developers of elevator systems, $118,000 to $132,000 a year. Unlike the technicians we mentioned before, these are the professionals who design and develop the systems. They work with advanced mechanical engineering software, programming, safety design, and constant innovation in a city like New York, where skyscrapers define the skyline. These developers are the invisible architects of vertical mobility. They create systems that move millions of people every day, consume less energy, take up less space, and operate in absolute safety. And companies pay fortunes for that expertise. Hazardous waste specialists, $120,000 to $135,000 annually. Here is a profession that no one wants to do, but which absolutely needs to be done. These experts deal with toxic, radioactive, and hazardous materials that other people generate, but don't want to touch. They ensure safe disposal, cleanliness of contaminated sites, and compliance with strict environmental regulations. Hospitals generate hazardous medical waste. Industries produce toxic chemicals. Old installations leave contamination. Someone needs to clean all this up, and that someone is very well paid to do it. The equation is simple: high risk plus specialized skills plus few willing to do equals high wages. Infrastructure managers, $125,000 to $142,000 per year. These professionals build the bridges you cross, the tunnels you go through, the water systems that come to your home. They manage projects of tens or hundreds of millions of dollars, coordinate hundreds of workers, deal with governments and private companies. When you see a new bridge being built, you rarely think of the manager, who is coordinating engineers, heavy equipment operators, safety inspectors, suppliers, and regulatory bodies simultaneously. But this professional is there working 60 or 70 hours a week, making sure everything happens on time and on budget, and being rewarded handsomely for it. Dam safety specialists, $128,000 to $145,000 annually. Few people think about dams until one fails catastrophically. These experts spend their careers making sure this never happens. They inspect massive structures, use advanced monitoring technology, calculate geological and hydraulic hazards, and make decisions that protect millions of lives. There are more than 90,000 dams in the United States. Many are decades old. They all need constant maintenance and monitoring. And professionals who understand these complex structures are rare enough to command impressive salaries. Leave in the comments, which of these professions have you never heard of before? Were you shocked by any of these salaries? Your answer can help others discover career paths they never imagined. Commercial helicopter pilots, $130,000 to $150,000 a year. While commercial airplane pilots get all the attention, helicopter pilots work in the shadows, doing jobs that airplanes simply can't. Do they transport executives between Manhattan and airport, perform emergency medical rescues, support construction operations in impossible locations, fight forest fires? These pilots need superior flying skills, as helicopters are notoriously more difficult to operate than airplanes. They fly in challenging weather conditions, land in tiny spaces, make life and death decisions, and companies that depend on them pay premium salaries for this rare expertise. Water treatment managers $132,000 to $152,000 annually. Every time you turn on a tap and clean water comes out, there's an invisible army of professionals making sure it's safe to drink. Water treatment managers oversee complex facilities that filter, purify, and distribute water to entire cities. They understand chemistry, biology, engineering, and environmental regulations. They manage teams 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, respond to emergencies, and invest in infrastructure improvements when a water crisis happens in a city. These managers are on the front lines, solving the problem while politicians show up at press conferences taking credit. Dangerous goods, logistics coordinators, $135,000 to $155,000 per year. Flammable chemicals, radioactive materials, dangerous, compressed gases, all this needs to be transported across the country, following extremely strict federal regulations. Logistics coordinators who specialize in these loads need to know transportation laws, safety protocols, approved routes, and emergency procedure. A single mistake can result in environmental disaster, loss of life, or fines of millions of dollars. That's why chemical, pharmaceutical, and industrial companies pay high salaries to professionals who know exactly what they're doing. It is a profession where specialized knowledge translates directly into market value. Safety inspectors in refineries $138,000 to $160,000 annually. Oil refineries are some of the most dangerous industrial facilities in the world. Extreme temperatures, sky high pressures, volatile chemicals, all operating 24 hours a day. Safety inspectors ensure that equipment works properly, that protocols are followed, and that hazards are identified before accidents occur. These professionals save lives every day, even if no one knows their names. They climb distillation towers 50 meters high, inspect storage tanks containing millions of gallons of fuel, use thermography and ultrasound technology to detect invisible flaws, and refineries, which move billions of dollars, pay well to keep everything safe. Specialists in controlled demolition $140,000 to $165,000 a year. When an old building needs to fall, it's not just blowing everything up and rooting for the best demolition. Specialists calculate exactly where to place explosives, in what sequence to detonate them, how to ensure that the structure falls into the desired space without damaging anything around. They use advanced structural engineering, applied physics, and years of practical experience. A successful demolition feels like magic, an entire building collapsing perfectly on itself in seconds. But behind this magic, there is a professional who has made thousands of calculations and cannot miss even one. Mining operations managers $145,000 to $170,000 annually. Commodities that underpin the American economy, copper, coal, rare metals, come from mines operated by managers you'll never see on TV. These professionals oversee massive operations in remote locations, manage hundreds of workers, operate multi-million-dollar budgets, ensure safety in one of the most dangerous work environments out there. They work in states like Wyoming, Montana, Arizona, places far from the urban spotlight. They live in small towns that most Americans will never visit, but their paychecks don't reflect obscurity. They reflect the real value they deliver to global mining companies. Traffic systems engineers $148,000 to $172,000 per year. Synchronized traffic lights, optimized traffic flow, reduced congestion. All this comes from engineers who use advanced mathematics, data analysis, and sensor technology to make cities work better. They design intelligent systems that adapt traffic-based signals in real time, create predictive congestion models, plan road infrastructure for future growth. Every second they save on commuting millions of people translates into billions of dollars of productivity. Big cities pay fortunes for that expertise. Hey, where? Halfway through the video, and you haven't subscribed to the Salary Uncovered channel yet? Really, we just revealed more than a dozen careers that pay six figures, and you haven't pressed that button yet? Come on. Sign up now and activate the bell, because there are many more revelations coming. This channel exists to open your eyes to opportunities you never knew existed. Chemical emergency response managers $150,000 to $175,000 annually. when a tanker truck rolls onto the highway, spilling dangerous chemicals, when a factory has a toxic leak, when a chemical emergency threatens a community. These managers coordinate the response. They mobilize specialized teams, assess risks, make decisions under extreme pressure, protect lives and the environment. They are the professionals who arrive when everyone else is running away. They need to understand chemistry, toxicology, emergency, protocols, and leadership under stress, and because they are so rare and so essential, they command salaries that many corporate executives would envy. Security specialists of critical facilities, $152,000 to $178,000 per year. Power plants, water treatment plants, telecommunications facilities, data centers, critical infrastructure that keeps the country running. Security specialists of these facilities protect against physical and cyber threats, develop contingency plans, coordinate with federal security agencies. After the September the 11th attacks, critical infrastructure security became a national priority. Professionals who understand both physical and cybersecurity, who have federal security certifications, who can think like potential attackers. These professionals write their own paychecks. Directors of port logistics, $155,000 to $180,000 annually. Millions of containers arrive at U.S. ports every year, bringing everything from electronics to food. Port logistics directors orchestrate the complex ballet of ships, cranes, trucks, trains, and warehouses that move this cargo. They work 24 hours a day in shift cycles, manage powerful unions of port workers, deal with customs regulations, optimize efficiency in facilities that never stop. When the global supply chain runs smoothly, there is a port logistics director, making sure each container gets where it needs to be at the right time. Managers of operations on offshore platforms, $158,000 to $185,000 per year. Oil and gas from the ocean floor fuel the American economy, and operations managers on offshore platforms oversee that extraction. They live for weeks on platforms in the middle of the ocean. Manage specialized teams, operate equipment that costs millions of dollars, ensure safety in one of the most hostile work environments on the planet, storms, giant waves, complex equipment operating under extreme pressures. All this is part of daily work. And energy companies pay premium salaries plus generous bonuses to professionals willing to embrace this unique lifestyle. Specialists in industrial control systems, $160,000 to $108,000 annually. Moderna factories are controlled by complex computer systems that regulate everything from temperature to production speed. Specialists in such systems program programmable logic controllers, integrate sensors and actuators, optimize manufacturing processes. They work at the intersection of electrical engineering, programming, and industrial automation. When a factory operates at maximum efficiency, producing zero defects, there is an expert in industrial control systems who has adjusted each parameter perfectly, and American manufacturers competing globally pay whatever it takes to have the best. Environmental compliance consultants, $162,000 to $190,000 per year. American environmental regulations are incredibly complex and constantly changing. Companies in regulated industries need expert consultants who understand EPA state regulations, local requirements, and how to navigate all of this without violating laws that can result in fines in the millions. These consultants audit operations, develop compliance programs, train employees, represent companies before regulatory agencies. They need to understand environmental science, law, business, and politics, and because the cost of non-compliance is so high, companies pay high wages to make sure they're doing everything right. We are getting close to the highest salaries, and I want to know, have any of these professions changed your perspective on education and career? Do you know someone who works in one of these areas? Share in the comments your story or reaction. Nuclear compliance managers, $165,000 to $195,000 annually. Nuclear facilities operate under the strictest regulations of any industry in the United States. Nuclear compliance managers ensure that plants meet every requirement of the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, NRC. Maintain impeccable documentation, prepare for federal inspections, and manage quality programs. Single mistake can result in the closure of a power plant that provides electricity to millions of people. The responsibility is enormous, the scrutiny is constant, and the salaries reflect both. These professionals often have backgrounds in nuclear engineering or physics, but their real expertise lies in navigating the regulatory maze while maintaining safe operations. Specialists in remediation of contaminated sites, $168,000 to $198,000 per year. Abandoned industrial land, old manufacturing sites, areas contaminated by decades of use, someone needs to clean it all up before it can be reused. Remediation. Specialists assess contamination, develop cleanup plans, oversee removal of contaminated soil, monitor groundwater. They work with EPA, state agencies, and environmental consultants to turn brownfields into usable land again. It is dirty work, complex and absolutely necessary for urban development, and demand is growing as cities seek to revitalize old industrial areas. Directors of operations in critical data centers, $170,000 to $200,000 annually. Internet cloud services, financial transactions, it all depends on. Data centers working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Without failures, operations managers in these data centers oversee infrastructure that cannot go down. Even for seconds, they manage redundant power, massive cooling systems, physical and digital security. Highly specialized technical teams. When Facebook, Amazon, or Google promise 99%, uptime, there are data center directors losing sleep to make sure that promise is kept. And tech giants pay tech giants salaries to these professionals. Reliability. Engineers of critical systems, $172,000 to $205,000 per year. Airplanes cannot fall. Pacemakers cannot fail. Car brake systems cannot stop working. Reliability engineers ensure that critical systems operate with zero failure. They analyze failure modes, design redundancy tests to destroy and develop predictive maintenance protocols. They work in aerospace, medical devices, automotive industries where failure means death. The pressure is intense, but the satisfaction of knowing your work saves lives is unparalleled. And companies in these industries recognize the value of these engineers with substantial compensation. Safety managers at chemical facilities, $175,000 to $208,000 annually. Chemical plants produce everything from plastics to pharmaceuticals, but they also pose immense risks. Safety managers develop process safety programs, investigate incidents, train employees, ensure compliance with OSHA and EPA regulations. They use methodologies such as HAZOP, hazard and operability study, and quantitative risk analysis to identify hazards before they cause accidents. After disasters like the explosion in West Texas, the importance of these professionals has become crystal clear. Chemical plants invest heavily in safety, and skilled managers are the centerpiece of that investment. Specialists in industrial crisis management, $178,000 to $212,000 per year. When the unthinkable happens, an explosion, a massive spill, a fatal accident, companies need experts who know exactly what to do. These professionals develop crisis response plans, train emergency responders, coordinate with authorities, manage communication during disasters. They have backgrounds in industrial operations, security, public relations, and emergency management. They spend most of their time planning for events they hope will never happen, but when they do, they are invaluable, and companies with billions in assets at risk pay whatever it takes to have these experts available. Industrial process optimization consultants, $180,000 to $215,000 annually. American manufacturers compete globally with countries with cheap labor. Come again. Extreme efficiency optimization consultants enter factories, analyze each stage of production, identify waste, redesign, implement Lean and Six Sigma methodologies when they can save 2% on production costs for a plant that produces millions of dollars a month. The return on investment is huge. That's why manufacturers pay high wages plus bonuses based on savings generated. These consultants often work on a project-by-project basis and can earn much more than the base salaries mentioned. Paisley integrity managers, $182,000 to $218,000 per year. Thousands of miles of pipelines crisscross the United States carrying oil and natural gas. Integrity managers ensure that these pipelines do not leak, do not corrode, do not fail. They use advanced inspection technology like smart pigs, Paisley inspection gauges, data-driven risk analysis, predictive maintenance. A single leak can cost millions in cleanup fines and reputational damage. That's why pipeline companies invest heavily in professionals who keep infrastructure running safely. It's work that happens completely out of the public eye, but that protects the environment and communities. Directors of operations in cold storage facilities, 185,000 to 220,000 annually. The cold chain that keeps food fresh from farms to supermarkets relies on huge cold storage facilities. Directors of these operations manage warehouses the size of football fields kept at freezing temperatures, oversee complex logistics, ensure strict quality control. They work with food distributors, restaurants, supermarkets managing inventory that needs to move quickly before it goes bad. They use warehouse management software, automated handling systems, tracking technology, and because the entire food industry depends on the cold chain working perfectly, professionals who know how to manage it are invaluable. Engineers of fire suppression systems, 188,000 to 225,000 per year. Skyscrapers, data centers, refineries, hospitals, they all have sophisticated fire suppression systems that most people don't even notice. Specialized engineers design such systems using smart sprinklers, gas suppression, special foams, early detection. They need to understand fire dynamics, building codes, hydraulics, electronic detection systems. They work with architects and structural engineers from the start of projects, ensuring that fire protection is integrated into the design. When a building survives a fire without fatalities, it's often because a suppression engineer did his job perfectly years before operations. Managers in medical waste treatment facilities, 190,000 to 228,000 annually. Hospitals generate tons of hazardous waste daily. Used needles, contaminated tissues, hazardous chemicals. Managers of facilities specializing in the treatment of this waste ensure safe disposal that protects public health and the environment. They supervise incineration, sterilization, chemical neutralization processes. They work with extremely strict federal and state regulations. Manage teams trained in hazardous materials handling, and because the risk of error is so high, imagine contaminated hospital waste ending up in ordinary landfills. Compensation reflects that responsibility. Specialists in the safety of nuclear dams, 192,000 to 230,000 per year. Yes, there are dams specifically related to nuclear facilities, cooling reservoirs, water, containment, emergency systems. Experts at these dams combine knowledge of hydraulic engineering with understanding of nuclear operations. They are doubly specialized professionals in already specialized fields, so they are extremely rare and extremely well paid. They work for both nuclear utilities and regulatory agencies, ensuring that water used to cool nuclear reactors is managed with absolute safety. Directors of nuclear decommissioning programs, 195,000 to 235,000 annually. When a nuclear power plant reaches end of life, you can't just lock the door and walk away. Decommissioning takes decades and billions of dollars. Directors of these programs plan and supervise safe dismantling of reactors, decontamination of facilities, management of radioactive waste. They work with NRC, manage massive budgets, coordinate hundreds of specialist workers, ensure sites can eventually be cleared for future use. It's generational responsibility. Decisions made today affect safety for decades, and the compensation reflects this severity. Risk analysis consultants in critical infrastructure, 198,000 to 240,000 per year. After events such as hurricane, cyber attacks, or pandemics, governments and businesses need to understand vulnerabilities in critical infrastructure. Expert consultants do quantitative risk analysis, scenario modeling, resilience planning. They work with electric utilities, water systems, telecommunications, transportation, identifying single points of failure, and developing mitigation strategies. They use advanced mathematics, computer simulation, game theory, and because their analyses can save billions in future losses, they command substantial fees. Before we reveal the professions with the highest salaries, leave it in the comments. Are you thinking about changing careers after watching this video? Which profession surprised you the most? Let's create a conversation in the comments. Now we come to the top tier. The invisible professions that pay true fortunes. Compliance managers at nuclear weapons facilities, $200,000 to $245,000 annually. The United States maintains a nuclear arsenal that requires maintenance, security, and strict compliance with international treaties. Compliance managers at these facilities work with state secrets, national security regulations, protocols that literally prevent nuclear war. They have top-secret security clearances, undergo intensive background checks, and carry responsibility that goes beyond any salary, but the compensation is still substantial, reflecting the extreme rarity of qualified and reliable professionals in this area. Specialists in the remediation of old chemical weapon sites, $205,000 to $250,000 a year. Decades ago, the United States stored chemical weapons in facilities that now need to be decontaminated. Experts in this ultra-specialized remediation work with nerve agents, poisonous gases, and substances that can kill in seconds. They develop cleaning protocols, supervise safe destruction of chemical agents, ensure that sites can be cleared for civilian use. The danger is real, the specialization is extreme, and there are literally no more than a few dozen people in the United States qualified to do this job. When you are one of the few who can do something absolutely necessary, you write your own check. Emergency response directors at high containment research facilities, $208,000 to $255,000 annually. 4 biosafety level laboratories work with the deadliest pathogens known to mankind, Ebola, Marburg viruses that have no cure. Emergency response directors at these facilities plan for the unthinkable. What happens if there is a leak? They develop containment protocols, train response teams, coordinate with CDC and public health agencies, ensure safety equipment works flawlessly. They work at the intersection of science, safety, and public health, and because the cost of failure would be catastrophic, research institutions pay whatever it takes to have the best managers of plutonium management programs, $210,000 to $258,000 per year. Plutonium from decommissioned nuclear weapons needs to be stored safely for thousands of years. Managers of these programs oversee storage, monitoring, and eventually disposal of material that will remain hazardous for millennia. They work with Department of Energy, manage maximum security storage facilities, develop long-term monitoring technologies. It's a responsibility that goes far beyond any normal human timeline, and the rarity of professionals who understand both nuclear physics and long-term program management means salaries at the top of the scale. Specialists in the safety of uranium enrichment facilities, $212,000 to $260,000 annually. Enriched uranium for civilian reactors needs to be produced under strict security to prevent nuclear proliferation. Security specialists of these facilities implement physical and nuclear security controls, ensure compliance with IAEA, International Atomic Energy Agency, prevent industrial espionage and sabotage. They work with intelligence agencies, have Q security clearances, highest level for nuclear materials, and live in a world where secrets really matter. The compensation reflects not only technical expertise, but also the burden of living with sensitive information and national responsibility. And finally, we got to the absolute top of the highest paid invisible professions. Nuclear submarine decommissioning consultants, $215,000 to $265,000 per year. Retired nuclear submarines of the Navy contain reactors that need to be disassembled in absolute safety consoles. Specializing in this ultra-rare process, work at the intersection of naval engineering, nuclear physics, radioactive waste management, and national security. There are literally less than 100 people in the United States qualified to do this job. They supervise cutting of hull sections containing reactors, transportation of radioactive components, long-term storage. It's work that happens in shipyards away from the public eye, but that is absolutely critical to environmental and national security when you are one of the very few professionals globally who can do something so specific and so important. The concept of market salary practically does not apply. You are worth what someone is willing to pay, and when that someone is the United States government dealing with nuclear security, the numbers are staggering. We've just revealed dozens of careers that pay 6 figures and that you've probably never heard of before. If this video has opened your eyes to possibilities you didn't know existed, then you need to subscribe to the Salary Uncovered channel now. Hit that like button, because this video took hours of research to compile all that information. Share it with anyone who is frustrated with their current career or who thinks only doctors and lawyers earn well, and leave a comment saying which of these professions shocked you the most. So, what's the big lesson from all this? The truth no one tells you at school. There are hundreds of paths to financial prosperity that don't involve expensive degrees from prestigious universities. They do not require powerful family connections. Don't rely on luck, or being in the right place at the right time. What they require is specific knowledge, technical skills, a willingness to work hard in areas that others ignore, and the courage to pursue unconventional paths. Think about it. While thousands of students are hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt competing for jobs at law firms or investment banks, there are invisible professions desperate for skilled workers. Professions where you can start earning well immediately after certification or apprenticeship. Where demand exceeds supply dramatically. Where employers are literally begging for qualified people. The invisible workforce we reveal today is not invisible because it is not important. It's invisible because people don't know how to look for it. Because career counselors in schools never mention it. Because media glamorizes only certain professions. Because there is a cultural roadmap that everyone follows without question. But what if you question this script? What if you search for those professions that we have mentioned? What if you talk to people who actually work in them? What if you seriously consider a path that no one around you has considered? The answer may be a lucrative, stable, and genuinely important career that very few people know about, but which pays better than most of the prestigious careers that everyone knows about. The numbers don't lie. The opportunities are there. The question is, do you have the courage to seek something other than what everyone else is seeking? Curious to explore paths that no one is showing you? Are you willing to work hard to develop specialized skills that few people have? If the answer is yes, then the world of invisible professions is waiting for you, with six-figure paychecks in hand. Don't forget, subscribe to Salary Uncovered, turn on notifications. Enjoy this video and share with anyone who needs to hear this message. See you in the next video, revealing more truths about money and career that no one tells you.